dangerous, really dangerous now. He's trying to open himself.
Screaming and whistling from this typhoon is unbelievable.
We hope and pray that this will stop soon.
The sea is nuts. Giant waves smashing the seawall in the building.
Hello. Mitch here, Heritage Charter.
Mitch Torres is on the motor vessel Dorado, shipping supplies from Guam to its neighboring Pacific island of Rota. A storm is brewing.
It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I just left the dock about 30 minutes ago. So it's about to be a little bit more rough. Be a lot back. We're getting about 18 to 27 knots of wind and about 5 to 7 foot swell.
So we are heading into the weather office. This is my third night shift of the week.
Meteorologist Landon Eidlet is with NOAA, the U.S. government weather agency.
We've been watching this tropical cyclone in the forecast models for over a week now. It could become a typhoon.
Located 4,000 miles west of Hawaii, Guam is in the northern Mariana Islands. The new storm is rising in a region of ocean known as the breeding ground of typhoons. With winds now over 40 miles an hour, it's classed as a tropical storm and given a name: Kamuri.
Roger, casting off all lines.
In Guam's port, Apra Harbor, boats stand by to take evasive action.
It's 1:22 a.m. in the morning, and see, wind picked up a little bit. 6 p.m. Go check it out.
These men are among more than 1,000 marine workers given cameras by National Geographic at the start of the costliest Pacific storm season on record, to film storms wherever they strike, right around the globe, on a scale never seen before.
We got some swells coming in from the north.
Now, they're caught in the path of a killer Pacific typhoon. On the U.S. territory of Guam, the NOAA weather station watches over the most active tropical storm zone on the planet.
How's it going? Is it a typhoon yet?
Still in the area.
Typhoon is the name used in the Pacific for a major cyclone, known in the Atlantic as a hurricane. All eyes are on the new storm, 150 miles from Guam, and already making its presence felt.
The sea heights are really shot up, and it's keeping very much in line with what the models have been forecasting. In the last half hour, we've shot up to nearly 20-foot seas out there. If people are not away from the coast right now, they need to be, because even when I was out there earlier, we were looking at seas between 10 and 12 feet. They've almost doubled since 5 hours ago.
As Storm Kamuri demonstrates its growing power, Guam goes on standby.
So I'm the man, the captain of Leatherneck for tonight. Brad is my deckhand.
Justin Reyes is captain of crew boat Leatherneck.
And the wind is coming from the east side.
Large ships must be ready to leave port ahead of the storm. All crew who had gone ashore are urgently recalled. Justin's job is to ferry them on the Leatherneck back to their ships. In 10-foot swells, it's an operation that requires a steady nerve and some split-second timing.
for the 2100 run.
Definitely winds have increased across the region, and it's going to get a little noisy out there, so if the windows and doors have been rattling, they're going to shake pretty good when this passes over.
Guam has a higher risk of typhoon or hurricane strike than any other U.S. territory. In the open ocean between the island and its neighbor Rota, the swell is building.
Good morning. It's about 6:30 now in the morning. I'm still on their way to Rota. It's a little bit more rough. If I go any faster, we're gonna start taking waves over the bow. I don't want that right now.
Good morning, everybody. Carry on, please.
On Guam, Captain Chris Chase, U.S. Coast Guard Sector Commander, must keep a close watch on the looming storm.
The timeline on the seas and the winds.
The port of Guam is the lifeblood of not only this island, but all of the islands throughout the regions.
Guam's 210 square miles of U.S. soil is home to a military base of vital strategic significance. Restricting the potential for damage during a storm is critical. In the port, the last resort is to shut down, sending ships to seek safety at sea.
We haven't closed the port officially yet, but the worst thing that could happen is if we leave the ships in port and something drastic happens and one of them sinks at the port, that's going to impact the ability to get cargo in and out of the port.
Sector 753, our operations are verifying the harbor. Over.
A Coast Guard response boat assesses the changing sea state. On board, Chris Grimes.
Yeah, we just headed outside of the harbor, Apra Harbor, where our station's located, just to evaluate the conditions past the breakwall. We're just looking at the sustained winds and swell direction and swell height.
This close to where typhoons form, there's a constant risk of being taken by surprise.
We're always at port heavy weather condition whiskey, so we're always within 72 hours of having a storm impact, and they happen really quickly. So we don't get the lead time that some of the East Coast gets, which makes things a little bit more challenging out this way.
The storm's located to the east of us right now. We are seeing increased size of waves and winds, and so things could change pretty fast as far as our operational capabilities over the next few hours.
Storm Kamuri's progress is presenting a growing threat to Guam. With its strongest winds just 24 hours away, the threat level at the harbor is raised to port condition Yankee. All ships are ordered to leave. Shipping containers are lowered in preparation for storm force winds. Our cameras are with one of the tugs escorting ships to open waters, the Patriot, under Captain Mike Ujoa.
This is the last Navy ship to be departing the harbor. All the Navy ships are gone, and all the commercial ships are departed already. If the wind was to really, really pick up, the boat could end up banging up against the dock over here, destroy the dock, could destroy the Navy dock on that side. This is like a lifeline. Food, supplies, vehicles, all comes through the harbor. We can't have any, traffic jams, so to speak, because somebody didn't depart the harbor and their ship ended up grounded somewhere. That'd be really bad.
Guam Islanders know how quickly storms can intensify over the warm waters of the Northwest Pacific into a destructive super typhoon.
We do have the bragging rights for the most tropical cyclones in any year, and that's just the way of life out here.
Over the last 20 years, the Northwest Pacific has spawned 94 super typhoons, over 4 times more than the number of equally powerful Atlantic hurricanes. It's earned this stretch of ocean the name Typhoon Alley.
Typhoon Alley is a common term for this region, primarily because we have so many typhoons come through this area every year. We average 30 to 35 tropical cyclones every year. Come typhoon season like where we are right now, you have storm after storm after storm.
Guam's NOAA station is a vital lookout post for the U.S. Navy facility that tracks all Pacific typhoons. This is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Zio, J-Tops, JTWC.
From here, the U.S. Navy issues weather warnings to its assets right across the Pacific.
Concerned about these islands, obviously, because they're AORs here. It just looks like a shadow of the overshooting top.
Our cameras are on the watch floor with Lieutenant Caitlin Fine, where Kamuri is the center of attention.
This is an infrared image here on the left that shows Tropical Storm Kamuri. Satellites are our main observation tool. You look for areas where convection or thunderstorms are occurring. You look for areas where you can already see rotation. Then you start to look for the beginnings of a system.
One special satellite has a vital role in monitoring storm development in Typhoon Alley, Himawari 8.
The Himawari satellite is the geostationary satellite over our region, and that gives us one continuous snapshot. So we see a beautiful frame of weather across the whole area, and that's never interrupted.
Data from the satellite is showing that Guam will be spared by Kamuri. Its outer band of winds will only graze the island as it continues along Typhoon Alley to bear down on a far bigger target. The Philippines, a country more exposed to typhoons than anywhere in the world. Typhoon Kamuri is now on a course that looks all too familiar.
We're looking for any damage to the pier, any damage to any of the vessels.
The Pacific island of Guam has been spared the full force of Tropical Storm Kamuri.
The storm has basically passed. We still have winds above 30 knots in the area, but we've got teams out doing port assessments. We've got boat crews that are going to go out. Everything that we can do so we make sure that it's safe to bring ships and back into the port and start conducting operations inside the ports as well.
Good afternoon. Mitch again. It's about 50 miles back to Guam. A lot of white caps. But it's not as bad as it was this morning. It was like way big this morning.
Moving west, Kamuri is supercharged by the warm waters of the Pacific. Within a day, it reaches full typhoon strength.
Right there? That's the one. This is the ECM.
Kamuri's next destination along Typhoon Alley seems inevitable.
Anything that develops in our region, a lot of times goes towards the Philippines.
1,500 miles west of Guam, the Philippines spans the breadth of Typhoon Alley. A cluster of cities around the capital, Manila, on the northern island of Luzon, is the most densely populated region of the country. On average, 20 major storms enter Philippine waters every year.
Alas 7 ng umaga. Ako ngayon para ipakita sa inyo ang ginagawa namin ng pagpalawag at tinapos na kami ng lakas. Kaya
The crew of fishing boat Ron Kirby 2 are 50 miles off Luzon's exposed northwest coast. First mate Aldrin Appa has one of our cameras with him for their week-long trip. Hauling the net by hand takes 30 men. After a week at sea, they've hit a lucky streak. As well as the regular haul of mackerel, today's catch includes some highly valued skipjack tuna.
Tatlong gabi, nakapuno din kami ng isang budiga. Good morning. It's the 29th of November, and it's already 5:55 in the morning out here in the Philippines. I'm on my way to work, and I can see one of our weather forecasters.
Chris Perez is a meteorologist with the Philippines weather agency, PAGASA.
Yeah, we're not yet late.
Their mission is to provide early warnings of any threat. And Kamuri is already causing concern.
What we have here is a movement of the wind at the upper level of the atmosphere. So if this particular subtropical ridge persists, the typhoon is likely to move westward instead of moving north.
Kamuri's track is dangerously close to the country's capital, Metro Manila, and the densely populated center, raising fears of a repeat of a tragedy that the Philippines can never forget. 2013's Typhoon Haiyan. Haiyan's ferocious power was captured on camera by an American storm chaser, Josh Morgerman.
I've been in the inner cores of 49 hurricanes and typhoons all over the world. And Super Typhoon Haiyan was, it was just off the charts.
With devastating winds, gusting at 235 miles per hour, this was one of the most powerful typhoons ever recorded.
Ever since Super Typhoon Haiyan ravaged the Philippines a number of years ago, people are shell-shocked about another typhoon hitting the Philippines.
Haiyan claimed more than 6,000 lives, and 1 million homes were destroyed. Even for this disaster-prone country, it was the worst storm ever recorded. Typhoon Kamuri is on a collision course with the Philippines, getting 150 miles closer every day. The fishing boat Ron Kirby 2 is almost 100 miles from Infanta, its home port.
Doon kami doon sa lugar na aking pinagmulan.
With good catches and calm seas, Aldrin and his crew head further from shore into the warm waters of the Philippines Sea.
It's just explode after this, so that's why I'm gonna go with.
In Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, for Lieutenant Fine, the latest satellite images of Kamuri are attracting close scrutiny. In storms of this power, clouds are pushed so high above the Earth, they freeze.
You have warm, moist air at the ground, and that air rises. As that air rises, it cools and then condenses, and then it rises further, and it rises so high that it will actually freeze.
Infrared images captured by the US Navy show that Kamuri has hit a new extreme. At its cloud tops, it's 164.9 degrees below zero, the lowest temperature ever documented on Earth. It's an ominous clue to Typhoon Kamuri's dormant power.
I'm driving down the east coast of the Bicol region in the Philippines.
American storm chaser Josh Morgerman is back in the Philippines, acting on a hunch that Typhoon Kamuri will turn into a monster storm.
The Philippine Sea has magical properties. Any cyclone that goes into it usually turns into a monster. Now, in Super Typhoon Haiyan, I didn't get inside the calm eye. And that's the part that has the meaningful scientific data. That's where I measure the air pressure, stuff like that. In Kamuri, I'm gonna get it. I'm heading toward Tabaco City or Legazpi City. I'm thinking that's where the center of Typhoon Kamuri is gonna come ashore.
So good morning. Today is the first day of December, and it's 7 a.m. here. So it's a Sunday, I'm actually off duty, but we are required to report to work, especially when we have a tropical cyclone that's threatening the country.
Typhoon Kamuri is expected to make landfall tomorrow night. Where it will hit is less certain.
The typhoon is expected to move generally west, but we're not ruling out the possibility that the typhoon may also move more to the north or more to the south, this cone of uncertainty.
Captain Harabe. Ginagawa ko ngayon ay kuha ko ng weather forecast para sa Typhoon Kamuri.
Kamuri's projected course cuts straight across the Philippines' busiest shipping lanes. More Filipinos are employed as seamen than any other nationality.
I-pablahan natin ngayon para malaman natin kung ano yung track ng typhoon.
Ay, isang parahe ngayon. Monitor tayo sa weather.
Ay, bagyong Kamuri.
Akin po ipapakita sa inyo kung kitang-kita na dito ang alon. Gaya na, nasampa na.
For Aldrin's crew, fishing has been good, but their boats are ill-equipped for stormy seas. The risk of costly damage, or worse, is now too great for them to carry on.
Gaano kaganda ang aming lugar? Sa mga panahon niya yun, hindi pa kaya sa laot. Ako itatabi muna.
Kamuri is growing. As it moves west at over 300 miles a day, powerful storm force winds are being felt more than 100 miles from its center. For the country's meteorologists, there's no let-up. Typhoons can hit the Philippines all year round.
We have monitored about 21 tropical cyclones already this year.
In 2013, Typhoon Haiyan revealed the Philippines' unique vulnerability. In a country formed of thousands of islands, there's no escape from the devastating floods that follow the wind.
The main killing feature of Haiyan was not so much the winds, but it was the storm surge.
As typhoons approach from the sea, their powerful winds drive a wall of water on shore.
I think describing a storm surge as a tsunami and a typhoon is a fairly good way to explain it. Over the coming years and decades, every inch of increased sea level will make coastal areas more susceptible to flooding or large wave events.
Tagal din bago makauwi ulit. Malayo ito sa aming port, sa akin yung trabaho. Bihira na rin ako makauwi.
When a typhoon threatens, all fishing boats are ordered to report to their home port.
Morning po sir, maglalagaw po sa...
In Infanta, Aldrin must register Ron Kirby 2 and find a safe mooring to weather the storm.
Anong oras ba kayo alis? Mga 12:30 po.
Pagasa is in a race to warn the public about an impact that now seems inevitable.
Over these past 12 or 24 hours, it has moved faster than we have anticipated. And as of the weather bulletin this morning, we expect this one to cause significant or catastrophic damage.
Nice day!
In an area they call Typhoon Alley. As a new storm builds in menace, cameras supplied by National Geographic to weather experts and marine workers capture the countdown to impact.
Yung karamihan ng mga bangka naka-secure na ngayon. Kunti na lang. Meron mang yan sa baba.
In the Philippines, Coast Guards clear the beaches as all maritime activity is suspended. The biggest typhoon of the year is due to strike tonight.
And some parts of the Bicol region and Mindoro area and some parts of Samar.
As with all typhoons to hit the country, Kamuri is given a Filipino name, Tisoy.
140 kilometers per hour malapit sa gitna nito.
At Pagasa, data from satellites is a valuable tool in their efforts to issue the most accurate weather warnings. But on its own, it's not enough.
We can't get the full intensity of typhoon based alone on satellite images. This is just one portion of everything that is happening because, you know, forecasting is still forecasting. It's not 100% science.
They're going now to the coastal community of Tabaco City.
Willie Tuazon is one of Pagasa's specialist team of storm observers. Their unique role is to get as close to a typhoon as possible to gather live data.
So we are here in the port area of Tabaco.
It's a vital job that carries a big risk.
Kilometers per hour.
While observing Typhoon Haiyan, one of the team lost their life. Kamuri is now just 150 miles from the coast and growing in strength.
Yes, sir. Basta tawag-tawag lang po sila.
As its wind speeds increase to 105 miles per hour, it hits Typhoon Category 2. And Kamuri is showing signs that it will go on growing.
As of 0600 UTC or 2 p.m. here in Philippine time, it just formed its eye.
The Eye is a clearing at the center of the storm's vortex and the seat of its power.
When typhoon develops an eye, it intensifies.
Kamuri is becoming a monster. Its powerful storm force winds stretch 100 miles in every direction from its 30-mile wide eye. The storm is expected to slam into southern Luzon, threatening the cities of Legazpi and Tabaco.
We are here in City Hall of Tabaco. We are going to the rooftop.
Willie's chosen a vantage point on the City Hall for a clear view of the typhoon's approach.
Typhoon Tisoy will enter here.
The destructive potential of Category 2 storms is 10 times greater than at low Category 1. As the outer bands of winds arrive, a siren warns the city of Tabaco to prepare for the worst.
Now the wind sensor is ready for Tisoy.
Impact is expected in just 3 hours.
Everyone here in the operation, we thought that this one will weaken, but then we're all wrong. It's strengthened.
Malakas daw yung yung bagyo. Ay baka daw mamayang gabi dadating yung pan.
The Ron Kirby 2's home port of Infanta is in the path of the typhoon's vast wind field. First Mate Aldrin's priority is to make the boat secure.
Hindi na lang yung sinalagyan din. Lagay sa... lahat. Pati yan, Makali pa rin din yan.
In Typhoon Haiyan, thousands of fishermen lost their livelihoods when their boats were destroyed. If the boat is left unmanned, there's a risk that it will tear loose of its mooring. Aldrin needs a member of his crew to stay aboard to keep it secure.
Dito. Ayan. Nagano yung oras niya. Tapos yun. Sabihin naka-video yan.
Okay na ba? Na-love it
Ako nga po pala si Christopher de la Cruz at ang oras na po natin ngayon ay 6:10 p.m.
The youngest crew member, Christopher, is already an old hand at the job.
Hindi ko naman po siguro may kukumpara sa bagyong parating na ito, yung bagyong naranasan ko sa bagyong Yolanda. Sobrang lakas talaga ng ulan ng araw na yun at saka hindi kagaya ngayon. Medyo sanay na ako at hindi kagaya dati na medyo kinakabahan ako pag may dumarating na bagyo. Pero ngayon hindi na. Pinakatatandaan ko pong experience ng malakas na bagyo ay ang bagyong Yolanda. Na yung bangka po namin ay natanggal yung tali tapos nilangoy ko habang malakas ang alon.
Christopher will stay with the boat to weather the storm and he'll keep our camera with him. While Aldrin must look after his family, sole responsibility for the Ron Kirby 2 rests with Christopher.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Pinapatid po sa inyong kaalaman na tayo po ay nasa storm signal number 2. Ang landfall ng bagyong ito ay ngayong gabi. Kaya po ang lahat, nangyayara sa tabing ng playa, inaatasan.
We had some of our radar meteorologists analyze the recent image, and it shows that the northern part of Samar is just about 40 kilometers away from the eye wall of the storm. Now, the eye wall is the area with the most rains, heaviest rains, and the strongest wind. And we are expecting more rain to pour in as this typhoon moves west. We expect really some heavy damage over that area.
The Philippines' most populated region is being prepared for the worst.
We already have a storm signal number 2 over Metro Manila, and we're expecting a higher warning signal to be hoisted, not only over Metro Manila, but within the neighboring provinces as well.
Storm chaser Josh Morgerman has arrived at the city of Legazpi.
Legazpi City just before nightfall. Typhoon Kamori is coming in this direction, and this place is going to get hit hard.
In the Philippines, the biggest typhoon of the season is hours from impact. The National Weather Agency, Pagasa, is on an emergency footing.
I've been working for about 24 hours already, and I'm planning to stay here until tomorrow. We need to assure that we have enough working bodies here at the office.
Drawing up energy from an area of extremely warm ocean, Kamori is about to become more powerful than any storm to hit the Philippines this year. Just hours from striking land, with Tabaco City and Legazpi City firmly in its crosshairs, it leaps in strength to Category 3.
And this is going to be a 205 kph storm as it goes over Legazpi City.
Legazpi City, 7:25 p.m. The wind is absolutely pounding this hotel. When I'm storm chasing, there's two things I need from a hotel. One is that it's a good location so I can observe the storm, and the other is that it's not going to come crashing down at the height of the storm. The typhoon is probably another hour or two away, the inner core bit. I think this one's going to be really, really serious. I'm going to go outside, take a look.
It's 8:30 p.m. right, and the wind is getting stronger. Getting angry.
In Tabaco City, Willie's observation team records gusts of 150 miles per hour.
The atmospheric pressure is still going down.
So our emergency broadcast has sounded. They issued a red rainfall warning over the provinces wherein the eye wall just hit.
Most of us are very worried about the possible casualties.
As Kamori pummels the town, phone contact with Pagasa HQ is lost.
Everything is moving inside this building. This door is trying to open itself. We don't know what is happening outside. That is a sound of roof. We hope and pray that this will stop soon.
The sea is nuts. Giant waves smashing the seawall in the building.
In the darkness, a 10-foot storm surge smashes ashore. Kamori has made another leap in strength. With wind speeds now at 130 miles per hour, it hits Category 4. In the past 24 hours, its damage potential has become 100 times greater.
It's going nuts now. Flying debris everywhere. It's just really dangerous, really dangerous. Screaming and whistling. from this typhoon is unbelievable.
With gusts over 150 miles per hour, even the most solidly constructed buildings in Legazpi are now under assault.
And then all of a sudden you hear it start to die down. That means mission accomplished. We're in the eye of Typhoon Kamori. Even though the winds have died down, the ocean is nuts. You can feel the walls rattling, these waves smashing into the building. The crazy thing is, we're only halfway through the storm. And I know the backside, those winds on the other side of the storm, are gonna come rushing in any minute like a sledgehammer. And we're back at the typhoon. We're going into the eye wall, the backside of it.
The eye of the storm is encircled by the eye wall, a band of Kamuri's most powerful winds.
We've now lost power. The generators are out. And we're deep in the eye wall of this nasty typhoon in the dark. Folks look concerned.
As the storm moves over Legazpi, its vast wind fields draw closer to fishing boat Ron Kirby 2.
4:58. Observe lang po natin kung gaano kalakas ang baging Tisa.
Sa panahon, hirap.
$6 a.m. December 3, and this is what Baco looks like after Typhoon Kamori.
Category 4 Typhoon Kamori has been blasting a path across the Philippines. The city of Legazpi bore the full impact of the storm's eye wall. After 4 hours of violent winds that topped 130 miles per hour, the city awakes to a trail of destruction. And the most damaging effects are still to come. As the storm surge recedes, floodwaters from a foot of rainfall are swamping the town.
A Typhoon Kamori is ripping across southeastern Luzon.
Largest storm on our planet right now, making its way through the areas of the central provinces of the Philippines.
Kamori is far from finished. The Philippines is a mass of islands, allowing typhoons an endless supply of the warm ocean water that fuels them. Rather than losing energy when they pass over land, here typhoons can recharge and grow more powerful.
Narito ako ngayon sa aming bahay. Hindi kami makalabas gawa ng...
Now it's Infanta's turn to be lashed by 120-mile-per-hour winds.
Malakas ng hangin, malakas pang ulan.
While fishermen are locked down in their homes, aboard the Ron Kirby 2, 18-year-old Christopher has one of our cameras running. Christopher is under orders to make sure the boat, on which the livelihoods of the entire crew depend, isn't torn from its moorings during the storm. Drawing force from the inland seas, Kamori is still a Category 3 typhoon. And getting closer by the hour. "170 miles south, Willie's observation team is moving out of Tobacco City. To start their assessment of the storm's impact, they head to the place that bore the brunt of its power.
We are going now to the coastal community of Gubat, Sorsogon.
This beach was ground zero for Kamori in the Philippines, the point of first impact.
Parang seawall yan. Seawall, pero na-destroy niya, no?
The sea defenses were no match for its Category 4 winds and the 10-foot wall of water forced on shore.
Naiwan po kayo dito nung bagyo. Tubig na nakagiba niya. Yung sisang. Alas pa rin ng sisang.
At Pagasa, reports from across the country start to reveal Kamori's impact on the Philippines. And most important of all, the cost in lives.
The thing that we're looking for is that zero casualty scenario. And that would be probably one of the greatest rewards that we can ever have here in Pagasa, you know, like achieving a zero casualty status.
The team has been on 24/7 storm watch. But finally, the end is in sight.
We have here the latest animation showing that Tisoy is expected to exit the country tomorrow early morning.
Kamori's assault on the Philippines lasted 36 hours. The 20th and most powerful typhoon to enter Philippine waters this year. It claimed 17 lives. Fisherman Aldrin is heading to Infanta. He and his crew are eager to get back to work, so long as their boat and youngest crewman survived.
So ayan po mga kasama, bago po tayo magsimula sa isang magandang morning. Binigay sa atin at medyo kalmado na.
Sa wakas ay binigyan na kami ng Coast Guard ng clearance para makapalaot. Pwede na kami pumalaot ngayon. Alis kami yung 12:30.
The Philippines is by far, absolutely, the world's hotspot for violent tropical cyclones. It's unlike anywhere else. But for these folks living here, unfortunately, they know that before they're even done cleaning up after this one, another one's coming.